His Royal Highness, the Duke of Gloucester, requests an entrance into the famous City of London.
The history of Old English Municipal Corporations contains some quaint and interesting information respecting the laws, customs, and everyday life of our ancestors. The institution of corporate towns dates back to a remote period, and in this country we had our corporations before the Norman Conquest. The Norman kings frequently granted charters for the incorporation of towns, and an example is the grant of a charter to London by Henry I in the year 1101. For more than a century and a half no person was permitted to hold office in a municipal corporation unless he had previously taken sacrament according to the rites of the established church. The act regulating this matter was known as the Test Act, which remained in force from the days of Charles II to those of George IV. It is not, however, so much the laws as local customs to which we wish to direct attention. The mace as a weapon may be traced back to a remote period, and was a staff about 5 feet in length with a metal head usually spiked. Maces were used by the heavy cavalry in the 15th and 16th centuries, but went out of use in England in the reign of Elizabeth. It is not clear when the ornamental maces came to be regarded as an ensign of authority. Their first use may be traced back to the 12th century. At that period and later spikeless maces were carried by the guards attending princes, as a convenient weapon to protect them against the sudden attacks of the assassin. Happily their need passed away, and as a symbol of rank only they have remained. In civic processions the mace is usually borne before the mayor, and when the sovereign visits a corporate town it is customary for the mayor to bear the mace before the monarch. We learn from history that when Princess Margaret was on her way to Scotland in 1503 to be united in marriage to James IV, as she passed through the city of York, the Lord Mayor shouldered the mace and carried it before her. The mace was formerly borne before the Mayoress of Southampton when she went out in state. A singular custom connected with the mace obtained at Leicester. It was customary for the newly elected mayor to proceed to the castle, and in accordance with a charter granted by James I, take an oath before the steward of the Duchy of Lancaster, to perform faithfully and well all and every ancient custom, and so forth according to the best of his knowledge. On arrival at a certain place within the precincts of the stronghold, the mayor had the great mace lowered from an upright position as a token of acknowledgement to the ancient feudal earls within their castle. In 1766, a Jacobite named Fisher was elected mayor, and like others of his class was ever ready when opportunity offered to show his aversion to the reigning dynasty. He purposely omitted the ceremony of lowering the mace. When the servant of the mayor refused to slope the mace, the constable of the castle or his deputy refused to admit the mayor. The ceremony was discontinued after this occurrence, and the mayor went in private to take the oath. At Nottingham, the new mayor took office on the 29th of September each year. The outgoing mayor and other members of the corporation marched in procession to St. Mary's Church. At the conclusion of divine service all retired to the vestry, and the retiring mayor occupied the chair at the head of a table covered with a black cloth, in the middle of which lay the mace covered with rosemary and sprigs of bay. This was called burying the mace, and no doubt was meant to denote the official decease of the late holder. The new mayor was then formally elected, and the outgoing mayor took up the mace, kissed it, and delivered it to his successor with a suitable speech. After the election of other town officials, the company proceeded to the chancel of the church, where the mayor took the oath of office, which was administered by the senior coroner. After the mayor had been proclaimed in public places by the town clerk, a banquet was held at the municipal buildings. The fare consisted of bread and cheese, fruit in season, and pipes of tobacco. The proclaiming of the new mayor did not end on the day of election. On the following market day he was proclaimed in face of the whole market, and the ceremony took place at one of the town crosses. We learn from the report of the Royal Commission issued in 1837 that the election of the Mayor of Wickham was enacted with not a little ceremony. The great bell of the church was tolled for an hour, then a merry peal was rang. The retiring mayor and aldermen proceeded to church, and after service walked in procession to the Guildhall, preceded by a woman strewing flowers and a drummer beating a drum. The mayor was next elected, and he and his fellow members of the corporation marched round the market house, and wound up the day by being weighed, and their weights were duly recorded by the sergeant at mace, who was rewarded with a small sum of money for his trouble.